If you're not familiar with the Michael Avenatti saga, Michael Avenatti tried to extort money from Nike. He was built up. Michael Avenatti is a creature the media made because of his contempt for Donald Trump, his hatred of Donald Trump. I've pointed out before that I was on television regularly up until 2019, at which point I endorsed President Trump's reelection, having not supported him in 2016. Said in 2019 that there were things about him I didn't like, and some of his policies that I didn't like, but by and large preferred what I would get from him to Joe Biden, and largely he had kept a lot of his promises. My TV invites went from constant to zero. The moment I became someone who everyone knew was so supporting Donald Trump, the mainstream media only wants on people who bash the president constantly. So, for example, at CNN, I'm not aware of any pro-Trump Republican voices anymore. They have people who are purporting to be conservatives, but they despise Donald Trump and can't say anything nice about him at all. MSNBC is the same way. Mainstream media outlets are largely the same way. There really aren't anyone there who can say anything nice. Into this comes Michael Avenatti. Michael Avenatti was Stormy Daniels, the porn star who claimed she and President Trump had a fling. Apparently they did. She signed all sorts of different paperwork about it to keep her mouth shut and then broke it all or what have you. I forget all the details there, but Avenatti represented her. And the media started allowing him to come on television to slime Donald Trump. Well, Michael Avenatti himself was a very slimy person, and anyone who paid attention could realize Michael Avenatti was a slimy person. In 2018, over a 69-day period, Michael Avenatti was on television 2 times a day, every day for 69 days in 2018. 69 days in 2018. Hush, stop it. I just stop. Yes, we'll say 70 days. There, make it better. For 70 days in 2018. So the boys in the crowd stop laughing. 2 appearances every day for 70 days. When Brett Kavanaugh was being considered for the United States Supreme Court, he went on television to salaciously attack Brett Kavanaugh. He trotted out someone whose claims turned out not to be true. He doubled down on those claims, and during all of this was trying to extort money from Nike. He's now going to prison, federal prison, for 2.5 years. The judge said that he should actually go to prison for over 9 years, but there was another TV lawyer, Mark Geragos, and the judge was appalled, given Geragos's involvement, that the federal U.S. Attorney's Office did not prosecute Geragos and decided it was unfair to go after Avenatti and throw the book at Avenatti when Geragos was also involved and they didn't prosecute him. Therefore, he only sentenced Avenatti to 2.5 years. Will there be any reflection from Brian Stelter on CNN? Brian Stelter of reliable sources had on Avenatti repeatedly on his program to attack President Trump and then during the Kavanaugh saga. He was remarkably quiet yesterday on social media about the Avenatti situation. What about on MSNBC? What about the rest of CNN? Avenatti was a regular feature on CNN and MSNBC. They had him on The View. My friend, and she is a friend, Anna Navarro, compared him to the Holy Spirit at one point on The View. Everyone who hated Donald Trump loved the guy. He told them exactly what they wanted to hear. He made them feel self-righteous in their hatred of the president, and they trotted him out on television to affirm everything they believed. And the guy was a grifter, an extortionist, and not a very nice person generally. In fact, the stories behind the scenes at CNN, I know some of the bookers at CNN, and the stories behind the scenes are legendary about what a horrible, terrible person Michael Avenatti was dealing with the staff. And a number of people at CNN told me it was a well-known secret that Avenatti was someone you just did not want to deal with, and they would always give it to the low man on the totem pole to try to deal with the guy because he was such a horrible person to deal with. And again, I heard this from bookers at CNN myself. And yet he would, it's also, it's like the Jeffrey Toobin situation at CNN. Some of the anchors said they wanted to get on Jeffrey Toobin. There's like a lot of overlap, if you pay attention, between the anchors who want Jeffrey Toobin back on and the anchors who wanted Michael Avenatti on their programs. Fascinating how that works. But Avenatti was there all the time. They gave him a pass. And then here's the problem. They can't self-reflect on this. The whole reason they had Michael Avenatti on television was to attack Donald Trump and his supporters. They wanted someone who behaved just like Donald Trump did, but in reverse. So they put Avenatti on. Now, here's the thing. They won't self-reflect on this. And this is part of the problem with media credibility these days, is they're not willing to be honest and self-reflective about why they had Michael Avenatti on. They'll make excuses. Well, he represented Stormy Daniels and she was real news. But that's not really why you had him on. That was the pretext by which you got him on. But thereafter, you just routinely, regularly attacked him, allowed him to attack Donald Trump. Essentially, the people who propped up Michael Avenatti began to behave exactly as they claimed Donald Trump supporters behave. And that's one of the remarkable things about Donald Trump. It is, I have long said for years now, Donald Trump's superpower. Donald Trump's superpower has always been he gets other people to behave exactly as they claim Donald Trump and his supporters behave. So they would prop up a detestable harpy like Michael Avenatti on television. They would allow him to attack and savage not just Donald Trump, but his supporters. Allow him to make a bunch of wild claims that never held up under the spotlight, and then refuse to recognize that they themselves were complicit in the problem. They themselves lack the self-reflection. They lack humility to say they were wrong. They lack the humility to recognize maybe they shouldn't have done it. They lack the ability to come out and say, you know what? Donald Trump kind of did break us. We really didn't like the guy. He was always saying we were the enemy and we behaved in kind. And maybe we should do better. No, instead they've embraced it. They've embraced the hate. They become like Anakin Skywalker, just embracing the hate, but hopefully no Jar Jar Binks around or bad special effects. It's frightening that the American media, that we actually do depend on the media for a free and fair press. A democracy needs a free and fair press. The media laments all the time about the authoritarian nature of those who would silence free press. Except the media isn't free. And that's something so many people miss right now. The American media, the American political press in New York and Washington is not free. They are captured by their own fears and prejudices and bigotry. So they can't be free. They cannot cover the world as it is. They can only cover the world as their fears and prejudices and bigotry tell them it is. They are in a bubble of the left, held captive by a progressive base for which they are willingly working in concert to smear and defame anyone who disagrees with them. And they will trot out someone like Michael Avenatti, who destroyed his own credibility well before he started trying to extort Nike. And the media, because they're inside a bubble, because they have so much hostility to conservatives, to Christians, to anyone on the right, they'll let him get away with it. They'll never apologize. They'll never account for it. And the reliable sources will become more and more unreliable because they're agenda driven these days. They're not driven by reality. They're not driven by facts, and they're not driven by news. They are driven by a relentless hostility to the world as they wish it not to be. And so they fight back from a progressive bubble, allowing people like Avenatti. He's just the beginning. He's not the end. There will be more Avenattis. They will find people like, look at Rebecca Jones from Florida. They still got her. Chris Cuomo is still infatuated with this Rebecca Jones woman in Florida who manufactured data about Ron DeSantis. Perfectly happy to defend her. She's under indictment, criminal indictment in Florida. Even the Florida press outside of Miami has rejected Rebecca Jones. Jake Tapper at CNN has called out people for trying to defend Rebecca Jones, and yet Chris Cuomo at CNN with Jake Tapper is so broken and partisan that he's doubled down in defense of her. Of course, this is the guy who hand-waved off Antifa and said they were no big deal. Michael Avenatti is the beginning. He's not the end. Rebecca Jones was the next wave of it. They will continue to have guys like this and then never bother to reflect on any of it. They'll just double down.